Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome to another video where I talk about stuff. And it is Friday, so yeah, TGIF to all you who work for the weekend, right? If you're working for the weekend, today's your day to sing that song. Anyway, coming to you live 6x6 on the 28th of March 2025 here live from northern Israel, where once again this country remains at war in Gaza against Hamas, Lebanon against Hezbollah. There have been a number of strikes yesterday that took out various people across the battle zones. It continues, it rolls on, and we see again, yesterday we saw a third day of anti-Hamas protests, and today, being that it is Friday, there's one thing Palestinians love to do. It's hold these so-called Day of Rage demonstrations on Fridays after their Friday prayers. Let's see if they have the tenacity and the temerity to do that today. Now, I say that with not a small dose of irony, because we know what has happened to Hamas protests in the past when they've gone on, anti-Hamas protests that have happened in the Strip, like back in 2019 or something like that. And there have been others as well, but let's just put it this way, they all were ended rather brutally. If you don't know, they beat, tortured, disappeared, abused, and killed a large number of people who protested against them. And they've made no bones about the fact that that is exactly what they will do again if there's more protests against them. And we're seeing protests in Gaza after 3 days of it now. And people on the Israeli side are wondering, is this real? Should we support this? And you have the government of Israel saying, yes, these are real, and we encourage it and we support it. And you have even a Hamas spokesman in Tunisia saying that they don't like the protests. Well, guess what, folks? Again, I say this as a person who I recognize that some of the protesters do not like Hamas. Yes. And I would hope that their number will grow and that they will somehow manage to overpower Hamas and oust them from power, remove them from power in Gaza. However, it is naive to believe that this is 100% homegrown. After a year and a half of getting their asses handed to them, finally, the locals are standing up to the organization that has suppressed their hopes and dreams and oppressed them and abused them and tortured them and killed them for nigh on 20 years now, since 2007, 2006, right? I mean, they've been in power 18 years, okay? 2007. And they won the election in 2006, but they, they took charge in 2007. So, but even before that, they were a very violent group inside the Gaza Strip, and one that was feared by a lot of people. Now, the last 18 years, they've been literally in charge. And all of a sudden, the Gazan people have the temerity to stand up against Gaza's dictators, the Hamas. Well, let me present you with another case. And you can disagree with me, because again, I know people want to disagree with this. They want to tell me, no, there's no way that's true. They want to tell me these are 100% real. They want to say, how do you know that any of the people in the protests were actually at the parades where they brought out the released hostages and the dead babies in the coffins and all that stuff? Okay. First of all, like I told you yesterday on the stream, I've seen things. There are things that have been recorded. There's eyewitnesses. I can tell you with an extremely high degree of certainty, an extremely low degree of uncertainty, and an extremely high degree of confidence. Okay, these are at least partly orchestrated by Hamas. 100%. There's definitely a part of this that is actually orchestrated by Hamas in order to control their own opposition. Okay? Number one way to take apart your opposition is to control it. So they allow people to vent their anger for a few days. They feed them with a big fat feast, sponsored by them. Make everybody think, oh, times are getting better. Give them some nice food for a few days or a week. And then crack down. No more Mr. Nice Guy. And if you think that's not part of their plan, you're very naive. Now, again, that doesn't mean that I don't want the ones that are actually protesting against Hamas genuinely to overpower the Hamas. Of course I do. I would love it if the Hamas would see that they are not wanted and just step down from power and release all the hostages and leave or surrender themselves to the Israelis. Of course, we know they're not going to surrender themselves because they have no honor. They are a disgrace to humanity. And some people will say, no, this is funded by the Emiratis, the Kuwaitis, the Qataris, people over there. Because Qatar looks like crap right now for basically being an enabler of Hamas. And Al Jazeera looks like crap right now for being their mouthpiece. So this is them funding this. Guess what? There are also elements of this being funded by them. Very possibly. Okay. The evidence is not quite as hard yet as the evidence that Hamas is actually taking a part in this. But again, Hamas is directly funded by Qatar, and Al Jazeera is their mouthpiece. So no surprise, okay, if Qatar is funding this as well. It's the same thing, okay? Hamas, Qatar, they're really two sides of the same coin. And they're not opposing sides. Wait, what? Yes, that's right. It's a strange coin. Maybe the strangest coin in the realm. There is also the possibility, though it's not proven yet, but people have mentioned it, and I feel it's my obligation to bring it to your attention, even if I'm the first person you're hearing it from, that Israel has agitprop agents and agent provocateur, right? People in the crowd who are actually Israeli agents who are fomenting these protests. Because what better way to rile up your enemy and get them to fight between themselves than, instead of shooting at them, infiltrating them with agents, even if those agents are actually locals that you bribed or you have working for you as double agents or whatever. Israel's quite good at turning people. So there could easily be some of that at play as well. If you think, by the way, that only one of these things can be at play, again, you're naive. It's many of these things. This is not entirely organic, okay? How do we know that? Well, because again, if it was entirely organic, yeah, you would have actually seen a lot more resistance to it already by the Hamas. Why? Because they don't tolerate this. People say, well, they can't just come out and spray with bullets. There's cameras everywhere. I'm sorry, but did you not see the video footage of them shooting at people who wanted to get their flour from the USA, from the aid, international aid? right, from the UN. You didn't see that? That was all over the cameras too. That was all over the news too. They didn't care. They did it anyway. Did you not see them shooting at their own people when those people were protesting against Hamas back in 2019 and other times? You didn't see that? They did it on camera too. Everyone's like, no, they didn't have so many cameras. They still had hundreds of cameras filming the scene. What are you talking about? It was all over the bloody news. We saw it all over the news. We saw video footage of that. You can look it up on YouTube. They literally were shooting at their own people on camera. They don't care. If you think they care, you got another thing coming. So again, on the first day that this happened, yeah, Hamas didn't do a thing about it. What do you think? They were just in some faraway, distant land, living high off the hog and not noticing the protests happening right there beneath their feet? No, they know. They're in every corner of Gaza. They're everywhere in Gaza. They run Gaza, right? On every street corner and on every street. They are everywhere. They didn't not shoot at the people because they fear the people. They didn't shoot at the people because they are orchestrating part of this. If you can't comprehend that, well, that's fine. Does that mean that none of it is organic? No. Some of it, again, some of it we know is organic. We know. But not all of it. And again, I hope that the real protests grow in nature and in number to the point where the Hamas is unable to control it and that they eventually have to step down from power. But what do you think are the odds that a group that has stood up to fight against Israel and has gotten their asses handed to them consistently every time they try to fight Israel, and they refuse to accept defeat in a kinetic war every time they get their asses handed to them by Israel? What makes you think they're going to suddenly surrender because the voice of the people says so? I mean, you're kidding me, right? It takes a special kind of naive. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it takes a special kind of naive to believe that that's going to happen at this stage. Now we're on day 4. Let's see if they actually have protests, right? We might be having them right now. If anything, they're starting to rile their anger up, and they're going to go to their Friday morning prayers soon, especially because people got one less hour of sleep last night, because here we sprung forward an hour about 5 hours ago. So people got one less hour of sleep than usual, if they went to sleep at the usual time and woke up at the usual time. And that means that today around somewhere between, 10 and 12, we're going to see whether or not people coming out of the mosques and the people are finishing up with their prayers in the morning on Friday in Gaza. Remember, it's a weekend in Gaza. Friday is a weekend, right? It's like Shabbat Saturday in Israel, or Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday in a lot of Western countries, right? It's a weekend. It's like Sunday in a Christian country, right? It's the holy day. Their day off. They don't work on Fridays in theory. Of course, a lot of people do work on Friday because they need the money or whatever. But the majority of people who work regular jobs in Gaza, those that have jobs, they don't work on Friday. And a lot of them go pray. It's a communal thing as well as a religious thing. You got to understand, for them, it's a big part of their community. And they get a lot out of it too. Right? They don't just go to pray. They go and socialize, and some places they share some kind of a after prayer kind of, not brunch, but snacks or whatever you want to call it. Cookies, soda, baked goods, whatever people might bring. to share with the community. So they go there to eat a little bit, socialize a bunch, discuss what they do, what they're doing, what's up, discuss how miserable life is, the usual things that people do in such settings. And when it's during a war, they also talk about those things too. And if it's during a time of civil unrest and protests, guess what? They also talk about that. Hey, are you going to this march? No, I'm going to that march. I'm going, I can't be bothered. I'm going to go fish, or I'm going to go with my family to the beach, or whatever. Yes, the people in Gaza still go to the beach a lot. And by the way, it's now warming up here in terms of weather. Like the winter is kind of over. So expect more and more people to go to the beach and do that kind of thing, as they do. So what does it all mean? It all means that what we're experiencing right now in Gaza is not entirely organic, is not entirely inorganic. It is a right mix of both of those things. And prepare yourself to accept that fact, because that's what it is. It's not extreme one or extreme the other. It is a very big mixture of those things. And like I said, we can only hope that the Gazans who actually want peace will grow their protests in number and size, and that we will see actual peace arise from the ashes of what was once the Gazan Hamas dictatorship. But for now, whether you like it or not, it remains the Gazan dictatorship of Hamas. And until that ends, the Gazan population have basically no power. You got to remember that. They have no power. They have nothing compared to the people who run their lives. So let's all hope for peace, better days ahead, and may the real protesters in Gaza who actually want to depose Gaza's rulers of Hamas, with actually peaceful people who actually want peace with Israel and don't want to be terrorists anymore. Let's hope and pray that they get their way. All right? I'll see you guys later. Peace. Shalom.